Right, you could have gone, I mean, not that I wanted you to,
But I
but
was
at
like-
least you would like.
And then maybe an hour and a half afterwards, I found it in her car. I was like, oh, that would have been helpful. An hour and a half.
Yes.
My husband saying to me, "Please, I can't."
The December 13th meeting of the Norwich Board of Education is now open. Al, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I ask you to please remain standing. The community, the Norwich Public Schools, sadly have to announce that a longtime employee and custodian of that veteran school passed away. So a moment of silence for Mr. Glenn Gordon and his family. Thank you. And in recognizing that tomorrow will be the 10th-year anniversary of that horrific tragedy in Newtown, Sandy Hook. I ask for you to keep everybody in your prayers and their families. Thank you. And with the agenda, approval of the minutes of the Board of Education's meeting held on November the 15th, 2022. I need a motion from the floor.
Kevin Sitani, I move to approve the minutes from November 15th, 2022.
Second,
Mark Kulis, second.
is there any discussion? Are there any omissions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. And now on to the fun stuff.
So I'm pleased to announce the CAPS award recipients. We are honoring 2 or 3 students every month. And as a reminder, the CAPS award is the Superintendent's Student Award Recognition Program, and it provides superintendents with a means of aligning themselves to recognize local students in their community. The awards are based on community service, service to others, academic prowess, relative to ability, and leadership and service into the school community. The Superintendent's Student Award Recognition Program is designed to allow superintendents to move beyond the academic achiever who routinely receives recognition and to use at their discretion an understanding of the students who reach a wider spectrum, who are also considered as superstars. And so it's my honor to bring forth Susan Lassard from Stevens School, who will be recognizing our CAPS Award recipient, Jerome Wiley.
I actually have our 5th grade teacher, Carrie Sassop, here.
Even better. She's an award winner herself, another rock star in our midst.
Jerome first came to Canton School in 3rd grade. His classmates and I are very lucky to have him as a part of our class this year. Jerome comes to school each day with a smile on his face and a positive attitude. He is always prepared for the day and ready to learn. Jerome takes the school responsibilities very seriously. He is attentive in class and consistently gives his best efforts. Jerome always returns homework and forms on time. Jerome has a can-do attitude. He completes his school tasks in a positive way and is enthusiastic about working with anyone he is assigned to partner with. Jerome is an exemplary role model to all of his peers, whether it is being a lower wing helper for students in the first grade classes, participating in the after-school basketball program, or leading our PBIS assemblies. Jerome is a good friend. He is caring and always there to lend a hand. Each and every day, I observe Jerome patiently helping his classmates with that positivity. At Stanton, we are fortunate to have Jerome as a member of our school team. Without further ado, I am proud to present to you this year's CAPS Award recipient from Stanton School, Jerome Wiley.
Jerome, I have this absolutely gorgeous certificate for you that I'm sure your family will frame and put in your home forever. And then, would it be okay if I put this on you? Because you are like a medal award winner. Excellent job. Congratulations. Our next award winner is Juliana Lariviere from Mahan School. So if we could have Ms. Favello come up, that would be appreciated. Hello, welcome.
Hi. So I'm going to read this on behalf of Mrs. Winton's nominations and our social worker, Ms. DeSecco's nominations for Jules. So it's my pleasure to introduce Juliana. Juliana has been a student at Mahan since kindergarten. Her shining personality, her compassion for others, and her selflessness makes her a role model in our school and in our community. Juliana is an advocate for all children, so I'm going to emphasize the word all. In fourth grade, she led a campaign to ensure equality for all children in our school by creating posters and posting them in the school hallways. Juliana has been the voice for our students in wheelchairs, advocating for wheelchair accessible space outdoors so all children can play together. It is not that often that I can say this about one of my students, but Juliana truly puts others first before herself. I see it in her daily interactions with her classmates, and she's always thinking of ways to help others. And what comes to mind when thinking about Juliana? She's a joy to work with. She is social and cares about equality and justice for others. Her determination and spirit is fierce. She is strong and sweet. We can all learn from her, and I know that she's destined for great things. So she's very well deserving of this award. So in a combination of her numerous acts of kindness and her selfless spirit of generosity, that makes her deserving of the CAPS Award from Mahan School. So Jules, congratulations. We are so proud of you.
Congratulations. You get a beautiful award for your own self to put anywhere you want. I'm thinking a very, very wonderful place in your home. May I put this on you? Okay. You are a medal winner. Congratulations. And our final award winner and recipient tonight is Ariana Gavira from Moriarty Elementary School. So if we could have Principal Kate O'Donnell come on up. Yes, picture taking is a must.
Mandatory.
An auspicious occasion.
And I also brought Mary Gouveia,
Hello.
special education teacher.
Thanks for coming.
So Ariana is a student who always has a smile on her face and is willing to help all of her peers. During lunch, she's always there to volunteer and help out. She's always eager to participate in class and help her fellow classmates when they're struggling. Ariana tries her best at all obstacles that are put in front of her She is a student who will go out of her way to ensure that everyone feels included and valued. She's one of those students who will leave the footprints on a teacher's heart. So Ariana, I would like to present you with the Moriarty's CAPS Award.
On a teacher's heart is pretty good. As a former teacher, most children do affect us in a positive way, but footprints on the heart is a pretty good thing. You should be proud. This is your certificate. May I give you this? Thank you. I won't hug you. I need a redo. So even superintendents need a redo. Congratulations.
Thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate the support of family and friends. These students are doing absolutely amazing things, and they couldn't be doing it without your support. And so for the teachers that are here tonight, staff, and the families, we thank you so very much.
Thank you, Superintendent Stringfellow. Ariana, you get a hug from Mrs. Golgert. What they call her, my son calls her Mrs. Golgert. That's got to be something special. Congratulations. And Jules, I missed the nights at Sacred Heart in the gymnasium during those dances, because you can get down on that dance floor. You really can. Congratulations. Jerome, I bet your parents are excited as all heck, and you deserve this wonderful award. It's in a great time of the year, so congratulations to you and your family. The superintendent, please.
So more joy and awards. We have the You Inspire Me Student Award recipient of the month of December is Jean DeGond. Jean is a student at Global Studies Magnet Middle School in grade 8 and was nominated by Laura Dietrich, who is our Director of Nursing, and this is the nomination. At the end of November, a very scary situation occurred at Global Middle School. A student had a medical emergency in the school hallway, and while some students in the hallway walked away, Jean DeGond ran to the student to help them. Jean stayed calm and composed. He and a Global staff member immediately assisted the student to the nurse's office. I wanted to reach out on behalf of Jean and nominate him for the You Inspire Me Award, as he is a shining star for Norwich Public Schools. He is a valuable member of the student body at Global Middle School and a role model for all other students. Congratulations, Jean. The Key Is Me Teacher Award recipient for December is Marjorie Collins Della Rocco, Global Middle School teacher. And the nomination reads, Ms. Collins Della Rocco is an amazing teacher. In a short period of time, she has built a great rapport with students in her classroom. She incorporates engaging instruction by utilizing small group instruction, encouraging scientific discourse in the classroom, and facilitating experiments. Students leave her class with a strong foundation in science, and her influence is seen in subsequent grades. She uses culturally responsive strategies and social emotional learning practices to include and educate the whole child. At Global, we are lucky to have her. Congratulations for your hard work and continued dedication to all Norwich Public School students. And she is the teacher that walks around with the bearded dragon on her shoulder. Congratulations to Ms. Collins Della Rocco. I Make a Difference Support Staff Award recipient is to James Muscarella, who is the head custodian at Bishop Early Learning Center and Central Office. And there were many people who nominated Jim. He is a dedicated and hardworking employee. He's always so positive and filled with gratitude. His smile makes our day. We are lucky to have him as a Norwich Public Schools employee. He was nominated by 4 different people for this award. He always has a positive attitude. He is sincerely happy to help with any task. He is always going above and beyond his duties as head custodian to make his work environment a great one. His upbeat, positive attitude is truly contagious, and he is a friend to everyone he meets. Jim, your hard work is noticed and appreciated by many. Congratulations. I put in my report the COVID data, as I do every month, and I sent out at the urgence of our nursing supervisor, the COVID-19 flu-related illness protocol for staff and families. So thank you so much for everyone who's willing to abide by that. It's certainly taking care of yourself and making sure you're well helps everybody in the school community to be well. I have had a practice of putting some of our teacher vacancies and announcing them at this meeting, so that if you know someone who is a preschool special education teacher, a special education teacher, or school psychologist, ESL, science teacher, school counselor, reading or math specialist, send them our way. We will gladly welcome them into our schools. I'd also like to highlight that we launched a newly redesigned website and dedicated mobile app on October 28th. It's newly constructed, and this website includes functional design updates, a reorganization of all existing content and public information. Users of all languages can now select their preferred language from the Google Translate drop-down list on the homepage and translate all website content from English to over 100 languages. The Norwich Public Schools mobile app takes all website information and makes it readily accessible on your phones. Usually the transition from a website to a mobile content is very jagged. It doesn't really translate well. So this works quite nicely. Families, staff, and community members can download the app for free in the App Store or on Google Play. And so thank you to everyone that's been involved in that project. And then Matt, if you wouldn't mind queuing up the PowerPoint, that would be what's up there. Thank you. So Norwich Public Schools is one of the alliance districts in the state of Connecticut, and I've listed in my report the other alliance district, and you'll recognize they're mostly urban districts. So we have Groton, New London, New Haven, Hartford, certainly Waterbury, Wyndham, etc. And we as superintendents meet monthly. You'll notice in my report, Mi Casa, Se Casa is the acronym that they use for that monthly meeting. But I also meet monthly with the Alliance District superintendents, and we often will request graduate student studies and doctoral student studies as it relates to issues that are plaguing our school departments. I commissioned several studies, one during COVID to talk about summer learning loss, another during COVID to talk about parents or teachers who may want to retain their student. Is that really going to be in the student's best interest? We've also worked with our equity committee to have them identify what matters in an equity dashboard. And so I commissioned that study. It's very cool. I try not to monopolize, but I could literally commission a study every month. So I try to give the other superintendents time to do that work, but it's like having a bunch of doctoral students awaiting our wonders. And one of the Alliance superintendents asked for them to do an update on the progress of Alliance districts from a measures of attendance and academics progress, and also funding. And then when it was presented to us a couple of weeks ago, the Alliance districts decided we should share this with our school communities so that folks would know that Alliance districts are progressing very nicely and that we're not necessarily receiving the same funding from the Department of Ed as non-Alliance districts, which was very disconcerting, to be honest. So it's very brief, and it's in my report if you care to look at it or share it with senators, representatives. We'll be forwarding it along, but this data matters to our kids. So Alliance districts serve 44% of Connecticut's children. There are about 20 of us out of 180 school districts. And we serve more than 64% of Connecticut's students of color and 66% of Connecticut's low-income students, 77% of Connecticut's English language learner students. And since 2014-15, the original 30 alliance districts, of which Norwich was one, have outperformed the non-alliance districts in literacy, chronic absenteeism, and graduation rates. And so they're giving one chart, and this is on the state assessment. And you're looking at the alliance districts are green, and the non-alliance districts line is depicted in red. And then this is the chronic absenteeism rate. Obviously, you want a lower absenteeism rate, and the alliance district students are showing up to school much more consistently. And this is the graduation rate. And so the graduation rate had a 4% increase, while non-alliance districts were approximately steady over time. So that's measuring growth. And what UConn found is that alliance districts do more with less money. That alliance districts educated students with approximately 2,400 less per pupil than non-alliance districts during the 2020-2021 school year. That was really surprising to me. And that Connecticut currently spends over $1 billion less annually on students who attend alliance districts. And so they're showing the per pupil expenditures is roughly an average of 21,000 per pupil for non-alliance districts and 18,600 for alliance districts. And this is the Dean of the UConn Department of Research, Morgan Donaldson. And so she's asking if you want more information on this brief, or if we ourselves want to request another research brief. I know half of my administrators are in doctoral programs. It's not for you. This is for, the research briefs are for the superintendents. But you know, we want to make this known and bring it to the attention of leadership in our legislature so that we can make a difference. And we certainly do not want to cause non-alliance districts to receive less money. But we would like to, you know, speak on behalf of our children and make sure that they're receiving their fair share. So that's a little plug. The next item that I have is sure.
Quick comparison with all of the different schools.
Yes,
Okay.
this is the whole state.
Yes, but I'm thinking, can I have
The data set?
the data
Yeah.
set for Norwich, how it
Can you
compares to
email
the-
me and I'll send you the data set in the morning? I also put in, I remember Carlene asked me last year when we were seated on the stage after we had our first weather-related cancellation or delay. She said, you know, it really would do some good to send this out to families so that they're not imagining, you know, that I wake up and look outside and see the snow and say 2-hour delay. And so just to remind everybody that this process actually happens the night before, and that Bob and Matt Brown, our facilities director, and I wake up at 4 a.m., which is a normal wake up time for Mr. Serpensky, not a normal wake up time for the superintendent. It's shocking that I can make a really, you know, wonderful call at that hour, but I do my best. We talked to all the other superintendents. I actually, somehow Abby used to manage this group of 20 other superintendents. So when I was hired, I got a reach out from one of the superintendents and they said, you run the weather list. And I thought, oh boy. So that's what I do. I contact the other superintendents. Certainly we have our neighbors at NFA and Norwich Tech and the charter school that we check in with. And then Matt checks in with the Department of Public Works and the police department. Our decision needs to be made a lot earlier than other school districts. Our buses roll at 5:15 in the morning. So in order to stop the bus drivers from driving in and getting their buses ready and heading out, we need to make the call by 5:15. If I absolutely am sure that nothing is going to change between the night before and that morning, I will call it the night before because I was a parent of 4 children and I was a teacher. And if we know the night before, why wouldn't we give you the opportunity to plan for childcare and plan for other morning decisions? I'm not trying to make it easier for myself, although I will say not waking up at 4 a.m. is a blessing, but it's because we're sure. We know when the road clearing crews for the city and for the state are coming through and when they're working and when they're not. And so in the storm that happened the other day, they went home at midnight, I believe. So we knew between midnight and the time they come back, which was around 5 a.m., no snow removal could possibly happen. And so we have to make our decision by 5:15. We knew a delay was going to happen if there was snow still falling at midnight. If parents, are finding, oh my goodness, who signed me up for this phone call that's gonna come at 4:45? I think that's when the phone call came to my house. It's like a checks and balances system. I make sure it also calls me. You don't have to get a phone call. You can get a text message, an email, or you can get a phone call or all three. We've tried timing our phone calls to go out after 5:15, 5:30 at the request of parents, but then some kids are starting to prepare to go to the bus stop, or parents are off to work and their child, is planning on walking out in the dark. And so we send it as soon as we know, because safety is more important to us than convenience. But you can not be called if you'd prefer to have a text, and if that works. If bad weather is not predicted. So tonight, bad weather is not predicted. But if all of a sudden the police officers who are out on patrol at night are sliding all over the place because we had a flash freeze, then they know to contact their Department of Public Works, and the Department of Public Works contacts Matt Brown, and then Matt Brown starts this process at whatever time that call comes in. So if you're in the Stringfellow family, you do not text me in the middle of the night, because I can't turn my phone off, and unfortunately, none of these people can either. But it is a thoughtful process, because it's very, very important. We would never want to see any of our students or staff members injured. And although it can be inconvenient to find childcare, we do appreciate everybody's support and being flexible and understanding that, we're doing it for student safety. And I've listed all the events I've attended and planning to attend. I will say that the Follies was exceptional. And for those of you that participated, especially Mr. Kulos, who was our master of ceremonies, it was pretty terrific. Mark did an opera. He sang opera, and you never know how that's going to go with the young children. And I was seated near a bunch of middle school students who said to Miss Mabel and myself, he was singing in Italian. This is opera. People pay good money for this. And I got to see it. And so I was like, kudos to you, little one, that you recognized that and the talent. And we had so many talented teachers and staff members, a lot of them that were brand new, who got up on that stage, bless their hearts, all by themselves, and they're so very talented. And then we had Brandy Lumpers, our middle school, she's shaking her head like, oh. They did a rendition of Go Brandy, and they were just so thrilled with you. And it was a fun night. The kids were great, the staff was great, and I look forward to it every year. And that concludes my report. Did you like my singing? I mean, that's why I'm not in the Follies.
Thank you, Kristen. Tamara.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to update you with regards to our students in terms of academics. I did put here that our students are completing and finishing up their second diagnostic for iReady, so I'll be updating you on that, as well as their progress with regards to our academics. And then I just kind of wanted to highlight just a couple of things. One, we finally received approval for our Alliance grant. Yay, November 30th. That was a feat. And then also that we submitted an application on behalf of Kelly STEAM and Global Studies for the Mohegan Challenge grant, which would provide educational and classroom materials in person for instructional programs and complimentary field trips to and I can't, so hopefully forgive me if I mispronounce this, the Tantaquigian Museum.
Yep.
Okay. That would enable them to expand on the current offerings for our Native American curriculum as mandated by the state that's coming up. And then I also wanted to thank the Connecticut Commission on Human Rights and Opportunity. Our students at Global participated in the Kids Court last year and this year. And so last year, for those students who participated, we received 8 backpacks filled with sweatshirts, water bottles, a leather portfolio, this thing looked expensive, power bank, earbud clips, mints, a book Through My Eyes by Ruby Bridges, a $50 Barnes and Noble's gift card, hand sanitizers, a soft cloth notepad, pens, and pencils. Like, this book bag was filled to the rim with just good stuff, right? And then the students who moved on to like high school to NFA, that was delivered to them, so they did receive that as well. And then we also received a thank you incentive for joining the Kids Court Academy After School Club this year. And we received 5 $10 gift cards and 13 $20 gift cards and this was based on students' attendance. So I just wanted to at least highlight those things and just thank them for that donation. So that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Lisa.
Good evening. This is an uplifting night. It really is. It really is. Good evening, everyone. In my report, I am highlighting a couple of different things with our current students with disabilities who are exiting and entering Norwich Public Schools. So you can get a sense of the numbers. In the numbers in the first table, there were 4 students enrolled in our special programs in the district who exited, and we have out of the district, and then we have 7 students entering, and that's how it goes in student services, right? Exiting and entering students and always in balance. In addition to that, I put in a couple of graphics that give you a sense of the types of meetings that are happening across the district on any given day and how busy our school-based teams are with our planning and placement teams, IEP meetings and such, as well as our Section 504 plan meetings. So you can kind of get a sense of the numbers there. Lots of meetings have been held to date across the district, and you'll see the numbers do make sense with the different populations that we have. For example, in preschool, you have more than one meeting, and little learners, but lots of meetings. And then at the middle school level, we would have more because we have more students. In addition to that, I'm really excited about the Embedded Inclusion Institute. Currently, we have 5 planned or in the planning process, 1 really close to being completely planned, starting in January across the district. I'm really thankful for the principals and the school-based teams and in engaging in this work together with student services. And really this is about individualized planning for students who have IEP supports and thinking about their strengths and planning their day related to their strengths in general education with additional supports. And so I added a learner-centered planning for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it gives you kind of a sense of the philosophy behind the work that we're going to engage in. And it really kind of starts some of our more inclusive practices work. So I'm really excited about that and looking forward to other principals adding that in as well as they get to speak to their school-based teams. In addition, we had a Norwich Transition Academy Family Night. We're looking for more participants, of course. We had several families join us, as well as representatives from the Connecticut Bureau of Rehabilitation Services, or BRS, and the Department of Developmental Services, DDS, which is very helpful for families as we're engaging in that transition process for college and career. In addition, it helps families understand our transition programming. And we also held the first Student Services and Family Collaborative virtual meeting. We do have another set and scheduled for the 25th of January, so I have the save the date in there as well. And in addition, in the slides, you may not be able to open that link, we're not sure, but you can see what was discussed at our last meeting, which was an overview of the parent portal for CT sets and other updates from the department. And that is what I have for you this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lisa. Back to the wilderness. Back to Canada. I don't know why they let you back into the United States. You missed all the fun on election day, but we're glad that you're back. Hi, Greg.
I'm glad to be back, and I'll share one thing from my Canadian experience. They are having the same staffing difficulties that we are in the United States. I was in Northwest Ontario, and it's a very small community, and on the morning radio on several days, there were announcements of 6 or 7 bus routes that were canceled due to a lack of drivers. Like every town, there's a small city nearby of about 7,000 people. Their local Walmart had to change their hours to open at 9 and close at 7 because they can't get help. The shelves weren't stocked, and we do have friends who live there. We were gonna go out to dinner one night, but we couldn't because the night that was convenient for everyone, the restaurant was closed due to lack of staffing. So it seems to be spread around the world. Before I get into numbers, I'm gonna share some other good things. This seems to be the night for good things. And I wanted to add to what Kristen said about the snow. I want to recognize Matt Brown and the facilities and custodial and maintenance staff. They have the most, I think, difficult job at all when it comes to snow, especially worst is a 2-hour delay. Matt has to instruct his staff, you need to go home and be ready to come to work for 4 o'clock. And you can't tell you the night before that that's gonna happen. So depending on where they live, they're getting up between 3:30 to be here for 4. And then after they're done removing the snow, they have their full day of work ahead of them. So it's not like, good, we're done with snow removal, we can go home and rest. And then the first shift people have to make a determination, can we get this school or the school they work in ready with just the first shift people, or do we have to bring in the second shift people? So if you're the second shift person, you now schlep your body here for 4 a.m., work for 3 hours, and then go home, and then come back at 2:30. So it's a very disruptive day. And they did an amazing job at all of our schools. And Matt probably starts his day a little after 3 in the morning. So I just wanted to recognize those people.
You're fantastic.
So next I'm gonna move on to a good thing that one of our principals did in July. Our Waquanic principal, Zach Marr, he applied for and was awarded a $5,000 grant from Stop and Shop to begin a food pantry. So I think that's a wonderful thing. So the grant is for the Waquanic families in the Taffville section of Norwich. We don't have the ability to provide refrigerated goods, so it's gonna be dry goods, pantry items like paper towels, laundry detergents, personal care items, shampoo, and those things. Zach expects to begin the operation after the winter break. This is gonna serve as a springboard for the district because our equity director and family community volunteer coordinator and food service director have been plans of opening a district-wide food pantry. So this will be the beginning for something bigger, and it will be an opportunity for us to learn what works, what some of the challenges are. So again, just wanted you to be aware of that. You'll have a public announcement. Probably see some newspaper press and things like that. So I just want to congratulate Zach on his efforts. And if you have any specific questions, I'll put him on the spot because he's hiding in the back. Okay. Then I do want to touch on athletics a little bit. I haven't talked about that in a while. It seems hard to believe, but we're into our second season this fall of bringing athletics back. So I met with Lou the other day, and he has lots of participation on the kids. And from a competitive standpoint, they're getting better. The girls soccer team won 2 games this year and they're playing well. In your report, you'll see comments at the bottom that one of the girls thanked him for having basketball brought back because she made the team at NFA and she knows she never would have if it wasn't for the program here. I also want to congratulate Lou on working hand in hand with the Norwich Recreation Department. As you know, for those who have tried out for teams, not everyone makes the team. So we're trying to ensure that all students have a way to participate. So there's a 10-week basketball program in conjunction with the rec that'll be held on the weekends. And this year there'll be a new elementary school basketball clinic. So Will continues to do good things in athletics, moving in a positive way. Okay, so now it's gonna be the board numbers.
That was the fun.
Well, I'm not gonna, you have a lot of information in the report, but I just wanted to focus on what I call the core tuition expenses related to magnet schools, our designated high schools, and the specialty programs at NFA. This does not include about $8 or $9 million of tuitions that Lisa is responsible for from her budget side for individualized in-state public and private placements. This is a pretty big chunk of our budget and we spend a lot of time on it. It's just under 30% of the total operating budget. It's the budget this year was $25,529,000 and it represented 1,737 students. So October 1 is the cutoff date for enrollments, and that's when the districts start sending out their bills. We've received every bill from all of our schools except Griswold High. I don't know why Griswold's late in sending them. They should be sending them out to get their money, but that's their issue. So if we compare it to budget, the actual student enrollment is 5 students above budget and 10.5 students below prior year.
You get a half a student.
Someone at NFA might have been for a half a year.
Okay.
So that's the way that goes. So the good news is that we have $320,000 or 1.3% below budget. Now, there'll be some slight changes to that number as we go through the year because students come and go. So for instance, Bacon bills us quarterly, so you might add 1 or lose 2. Right now, we're in a good position. But if I compare this to last year, we're 6.6% above prior year, 1.6 million almost. So it wouldn't be enough just to tell you we're under budget. We have to look at some of the inside the numbers, as Chris Berman would say. And there's one area that Lisa and I are going to be focusing on going forward, and that'll be very clear to you when you see it. This is a slide that shows the enrollment numbers for the designated high schools in VOAG on the regular ed side on the top piece, and the bottom piece are all of our magnet students. And it also has the actual tuition rates compared to the budget rates. So if you just look at the top half here and slide over to looking at the difference between what I budgeted for tuition rates and actual, we did a pretty good job. And it's not because we're all so smart, it's because the district's got the right information on a timely basis. And one of our board members is a liaison to Warren, and he was able to give us information by going to the meetings. And we get the information in a lot of different ways. Lisa will be reaching out to NFA, and Kristen reaches out to the other schools from the superintendent. So overall, we were pretty good on the budget rates. On the top piece, the only enrollment real discrepancy is on Bacon Academy. We had budgeted 42 students and we only had 32. In the prior year, we had 31. So you might say, why on earth did you think 10 more kids were going there? When we do that, we look at the enrollment by grade. And last year, there was a large 9th grade class going in. They projected to go into 10th. So we assumed we'd have as many coming in. Well, that almost happened, but we had more students in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade that left. I don't know where they went, so we actually had when you get to the number slide, we'll see a budget savings there. And if we slide down to the magnet schools, you'll see there wasn't much difference school-wide from any individual schools. Some of the schools, there's some movement, and the overall differentials on the rates were very little. The Warren students were right on because Mr. Daniels got us that information, but the other schools, the rate was within a couple $100 per kid, and that's done on an estimate. We might estimate 3%, could come in at 2 or 2.5. So overall, I didn't have any issues with how the budget was prepared for all of those schools. NFA was a little different story when it comes to what I label the specialty programs. If you drop down to the old NFA total, we had 40 more students than last year and 38 higher than the budget. And they were concentrated mostly in 2 programs. It's labeled up there, the Sachem Specialty Program. We had 26 more students, and we had 10 more on the Broadway Resource Program. You might recall from our meetings last year that NFA restructured that entire segment of their educational platform. It came up with new names. Like the 2 bottom Sachem programs are actually called the Compass Program, which was something new. So it was a learning experience for us. Now, if you see all of the rate variances at 0, we basically knew what the budget rate was going to be because NFA published it, except for that top line. You'll see that we put in a budget rate that was $8,418 higher. That was my mistake, and right now you'll understand why I'm very happy I made that mistake. The reason that mistake was made, we had a program called Resource. We didn't have one last year called Broadway Resource. And when they renamed their programs, I erroneously assumed that the tuition rate for the Resource program, which on the bottom is $28,300, was also applicable to that program they labeled this year Broadway Resource. So that was the reason that happened. And when we get to the dollar slide, you'll see why that was good that we made that error. On the top piece, I won't spend much time on there, the designated high schools. It's the change from last year is less than 1%. The change to budget, it's 1% lower almost, so there's really not anything to talk about there. NFA is pretty easy to do because the regular ed is done 1 year in arrears. But if it's done 1 year in arrears, you might ask, why did we actually spend less than the budget? That's because of our school resource officer department. At the budget time, they were challenging 2 students and we won. So we have 2 fewer students that were on record because they actually were not Norwich residents, and that accounts for the savings of just under $27,000. And if you look at the Bacon Academy line item, you'll see that we were $134,000 under budget. That's because of the lower enrollment. I really won't spend any time on the magnet schools. I think that's about as close of a budget as you're going to get. The budget's almost $900,000, and it's fairly close. And we have no idea necessarily which magnet schools kids are going to choose. They do that late in the process. All right, this is the NFA line item, which is a little troubling. You'll see that it's up 6.6% from last year, and that's just under $1.6 million that we're paying more to NFA for these programs. So if I had not made that error, that gave us a $1.3 million favorable variance, we would probably have a $1 million hole that we're looking at. And it would be due to all these program changes in terms of the enrollment at NFA. The bottom Sachem number is budget variance of $669,000. Every program up there has more students in it. So the challenge for next year is to try and figure out, working with NFA, why are certain students moving into certain programs and so on and so forth. So that's one area we're going to spend a lot of time on. So that's why I thought you needed to see this and focus on that. So that ends my report. Do you have any questions related to the slides I showed you, or any other material, please feel free to fire away.
All right, in conjunction with the food pantry, I just want to mention that there is heating assistance help through TVCCA and Norwich Public Utilities. So please see them whether you heat by gas, oil, or electric. They will help you with that. If you burn wood or coal, I don't think so, but otherwise, the three main areas, they do have programs to help you. You have to submit paperwork, and even if you've already filled your oil tank, they will give you credit for that.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Moving on, public comment.
There isn't anybody.
Is there anybody care to come up to speak in public comment? Anybody for public comment? Anyone for public comment? All right, public comment is closed. Business. As you guys can see, we have 12 reads on the on policies. And these will be brought up on the next meeting in January for a second, well, actually it will be up for adoption. Any questions on the new business agenda? All right. Unfinished business. We have 18 items, action items, all on the policies that were first presented last month for first read. They are now up for a vote. You have to do each one separately. So go ahead.
Well, let's start the round robin then. I make a motion that we adopt policy 6115.
I'll second that motion. Greg Perry.
Motion to accept the action item on 6115 and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Kevin?
Nope, I was just voting.
Motion, I need a motion to update the policy 6146 high school graduation requirements.
Aaron Daniels, so move 6146.
Have a motion on the floor. I need a second. Christine,
I'll second that motion.
is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So voted.
Markulos, make a motion to adopt 6155 curricular exemptions.
Motion on the floor to accept 6115 updates to the curricular exemptions. I need a second.
Kevin Zitani, I will second that motion.
Motion on the floor in a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. I need a motion on the floor for update to policy 6154 homework.
Aaron Daniels, so move. Markulos, I will second.
Motion on the floor and a second to accept 6154. Any discussion?
I assume that's doubling the homework of all
I
students.
believe it does.
It's too bad the students left, really. They could have maybe weighed in on that.
Okay.
We're kidding.
Teachers wants to be waiting more.
Any other further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. I need a motion on the policy 6162 -51, student privacy.
Mark Kulos, make a motion to adopt.
Motion on the floor to accept. Need a second?
Kevin Satani, I will second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Mark Kulos, make a motion to adopt the updates to policy 6172.05, parent-teacher communication.
Motion on the floor, need a second?
Christine DeStacio, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Look, I need a motion from the floor on policy number 5117, school attendance areas.
Aaron Daniel, so moved.
Second?
Mark Kulos, second.
Motion on the floor in a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? So voted. I need a motion from the floor on policy number 5540, transportation.
Kevin Satani, I will move to approve the updates to policy 5540, transportation.
Motion on the floor to accept. Need a second?
I'll second that. Mark Kulos.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a number of questions with this policy. There is a lot of exceptions that make it seem as if there's probably not many students who are affected by this policy. But if anybody is, I don't like it. The idea that someone in middle school would be walking a mile or more possibly to school in weather like this and conditions, it really bothers me. So I really have a question about who is affected by this. Have there been people who have had to appeal? Are they winning those appeals? And I would really like to throw this back to the policy committee to see if we could come up with something better. Because the idea that someone would walk a mile and a half to school every morning really bothers me.
But this is not. Yeah. This is not new, that part of it
It's not new.
is not new. It has been the way. And I guess.
You'll get,
What I'm saying is, it's been acceptable. I don't understand why all of a sudden it's too far.
And I think those mileage limits, I think that's set by the state. I don't think that's set by the district itself.
There are some districts who have lower mileage limits and some
You can
that don't
always
have
make
them.
it
It's
lower.
not the state. We can make it lower.
you can always make it lower.
Yeah.
There will be a significant financial implication, particularly in a city, for making it lower. So if you were in a suburb and you make and I can get you that information if you're interested in it. But if you're in a suburb and you pull like a quarter of a mile or a half a mile, you might, impact 4 kids. In a city, you pull 2 streets and you might impact 40 kids. And so you would want, I would imagine you'd want to see some of that data. We do have parents that have concerns and complaints about this. Some who attend private schools, some who attend public school, but we have not had, that I know of, a formal appeal hearing. So when you ask of, are they winning? I have not participated in a formal appeal. There are parents that have been concerned and said, how am I going to get my child to school? And they typically will either drive them if they're concerned about walking, or they'll find a ride with a neighbor. But I mean, you bring up a legitimate point that the board should consider, but it's not new.
And especially around certain schools, there probably are not sidewalks within those distances. So kids are actually walking in the gutters on streets.
Well, no, as you see in the policy, if it don't have sidewalks, they don't have to walk, they get around.
Okay.
Yeah, my concern would be, are there people who are being denied transportation that through this policy, because of all the exceptions, should be given transportation, but no one's really making sure that happens?
Oh, no, that is happening. So we have a transportation director that we didn't have before. So we were relying only on the bus company. And the bus company was making those determinations. And so 2 or 3 years ago, I brought up that very point, that parents are coming to me or they're coming to the bus company and they're being denied opportunities. So they may say, hey, I just moved into town, although this says 1 mile, there's no sidewalk. And the bus company, was being the adjudicator for that rather than us being the adjudicator for that. So once we've hired a transportation director, she goes out, she takes a look at it with the bus company, makes a determination, and always follows our policy. It's if a parent has a request that doesn't align with the policy that, is denied. But in terms of safety, we do our due diligence to make sure we've involved the police department.
Any major streets.
We've added crossing guards,
Or they have a crossing guard, if they do have to cross one, and like I said, they have to have sidewalks that entire distance.
A lot of the concerns that are in here are about pedestrians and cars. I just think for myself, with my children, I would not let them walk that distance on their own in the morning.
Especially it's dark already too by the time some of the kids get.
Well, there's also a clause in there, except for high school, that if it's before the sun comes up or after the sun comes down, then transportation is supposed to be provided, but despite that, sending my son at the time that he has to go to school, I live about 1.5 miles, and he's in middle school, so he's like right on the edge of, I'm not sure whether he'd be required to walk to school or not. There's a few intersections that I think he'd be exempted, but it's not the intersections that concern me. It'd be him having to walk 1.5 miles to school.
I think that the superintendent brought up a good point. We have the authority to change the mileage, the distance. And there's some looking into, but I also would like to see that I think the cost factor is going to be the big thing. And
If we change the mileage and it affects 20 or 30 kids, that's another cost.
If you change the mileage, it'll affect hundreds of kids.
Right.
Because it's not just
Be for every school.
Norwich Public Schools, it's high school, it's private school, it's charter school, it's VOAG, your policies for everybody.
Yeah.
And so we're, how many, Bob has his hand up.
Just in ballpark numbers, one bus, if you added a bus to the route, it's about $77,000 per bus. So depending on what the needs were, if an analysis on the bus runs would have to be done and how many buses might needed to be added to the district, but it would be quite expensive, I'm certain.
Yeah, but that's assuming all the kids are going to that one school
Yeah, I'm saying
from that area.
If you add, if
For-
the new routes
I mean,
require.
I assume
If
Only 10 kids are on that bus, it's still 77,000.
Right, but I'm assuming that within that range, there's probably gonna be kids going to multiple different schools.
Absolutely,
which-
especially for middle school and high school. So Carlene and I could be in the same household, or we could be neighbors. And we have a bus going there for teachers, we have a bus going there for Kelly, we have buses going there for 4 different high schools.
So it's
It's
gonna
a
add
magnet.
extra bus stops, it's gonna add.
It's nothing that you would be able to do mid-year. If you were
Right.
going to make a change, I would highly recommend that you do that before our routes are thought of this summer.
We're going out to bid,
I,
so it would have to be done before that.
right, our
probably.
contract.
But I meant make effective.
Yeah, that's, so now
But that
would
would
be.
Please God, don't make it like effective tomorrow. That wouldn't work out.
Christine?
That's what I'm saying, I think we definitely should look into it further. I ask that we delay the vote on this until we look at it
And-
further and establish the course, is that possible?
I have to talk to the Button Maria and the bus
Right,
company,
yeah.
it'll be an endeavor.
But you would need to determine what's your threshold of
Yeah.
safety.
Right,
So
right,
for
that's-
example, if you're saying, I wanna see what it looks like at a mile, I wanna see what it looks like at a half a mile, I wanna see what it looks like at 10 feet. Like, we need to know what your threshold is, and then each one of those categorizations could take us a month to figure out where all those students are, because right now we're not transporting them. So they may not even be on our radar, especially for middle school and magnet schools. I would have to check into that. Right now, we know the threshold of the should I say, the population of students who we are responsible for transporting. And if students moved in new, we have to trace their tuition, find their address,
Yeah.
figure out how far they are.
It's gonna take some time.
It's gonna take some time.
So when is the contract up again, Val?
The end of June, but we'll actually be going out to bid probably in January, February at the earliest, latest rather.
What are our chances of getting that information? in that time period?
I don't have my secret decoder
Yeah,
ring with me tonight, so I can't give you an
Well, with
estimate, but I
holidays
need to
and-
know, I would prefer to know tonight what your comfort safety threshold is, so that I could at least start working on it.
I'm looking at this and I guess we're looking at it again, the changes seem to be just in references.
Correct.
The changes aren't about the
So,
mileage.
yeah, so it's not about the language.
This is your current language.
This is, yeah, our current language, so I don't think we should let that affect whether we vote on it or not. If we wanna change it, we can change it down the line. It doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing right now. And
Yeah.
and we can work through the process, and the way we're making it sound, it's not gonna be something we're gonna do even before June, that we can get this done right.
The problem is the RFP is gonna be going out, and to make contract changes after or to change an RFP afterwards is going to change our quotes and possibly what bus companies will bid on the contract.
That's what
Well,
I'm afraid.
we changed.
We currently run 53 full-size buses per day and 32 or 33 special ed buses. So we're running 91 buses a day. So if this change required 10 buses, as to Al's point, that might
It's a lot of.
preclude some people from bidding on it. If it required 20 buses or one bus, we don't know.
Most bus companies, even through each year, you go back and they look at, this is what it's gonna cost if you need a couple more bus. I don't think whatever bus company we have, we do end up with, because now we're talking about something totally different. Whatever bus company, they will adjust to what we recommend to them or what we tell them we need at the next year. I'm saying right now, we should continue down the path of getting our RFP out without worrying about changing it, because this is not gonna be something that we can do before that happens. It's gonna take to the end of our term to get this right, if we're thinking about changing it.
And if whenever you come up with that threshold, is it because kindergarten students are door to door?
Yeah.
So you have to, I think, contemplate, are you good with grades 1 through 3 within a mile? Is it just middle school within 1.5 miles? How do you feel about the high schools? But I need that direction in order to give you the best
Exactly.
data.
I say, towards to even give you answers, it's gonna take us more than before the RFP is due.
I agree with you that if the RFP has to go out in January, I can't get this information to you before the January meeting, in a sense that you're gonna be able to vote on it. It takes 2 readings to vote on a new policy anyway. But I also agree that if you're committed to talking about this and thinking about this, it's certainly a change you have the authority to make.
And when we get, if we do come up with a lower threshold and we come up with the financial data, we may say, no, it's too expensive anyways. I mean, right now, everybody's operating under these guidelines now.
Here.
Here. And so far, there's been, whatever issues there were have been solved. It's the middle of the year, so I assume they either have their own transportation, parent takes them, or the kids are walking within these guidelines.
That's important too, to find out the number of walkers.
Yeah, Kristen, if you could just send all that information to us.
That'll be a change every year, though. It's,
Well,
you know,
that's the
every
thing,
week.
you have to pick, I'll pick a moment in time.
Yeah.
Right.
And so for that data gathering, you're good with kindergarten, door to door,
Absolutely.
Oh, sure.
1 through 3, 1 mile?
Again,
I know.
You
it
gotta
has,
tell me
it
it's
has
a half
worked.
I don't.
Just to go back, just to
And I
go back
can't get the data.
14, just to go back 14 years, that was one of my first jobs when I sat down on the board. Somebody came to the board and said, I think this is too far. And let me know, they were a first grader at the time. Now, it was well under a mile. They were complaining about the cars that were running up the street next to them. I said, well, they're not crossing those streets. That is what the policy says. So as long as they don't have to cross the street, and if they do cross the street, the flow path is walk down the other side to where the crossing guard is, and we'll stop that. And this family, he actually came back to me when their child was headed to middle school and says, but what about, I says, a school bus works as a crossing guard. Once the bus stops and the flashers come on, nobody goes by. So it works. The system, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think anybody that's at that distance at this current meets all the other criteria not to have a bus. We'd have to walk through them each, one at a time to figure out if somebody is not. But to the best of my knowledge, everybody that is in our town, I don't think anybody is even coming close to those distances because the infrastructure doesn't exist in Norwich for that to happen.
Anecdotally, I would say Waquanic would probably have the most walkers, but that village is well sidewalked.
Exactly. Exactly.
Any other further comment?
All right.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. All right, where are we? Need a motion on the floor from for policy, I'm sorry?
6.9.
Yes. Yes, 6.9, yes, policy number 3460, school lunch and charging meals.
I make the motion that we adopt changes to 3460.
Kevin Satani, I will second that motion.
Motion on the floor and there's a second. Is there any discussion? Al?
Is this one of those that we just have to keep because it's just one of those things?
You're required by law to have a school lunch meal charging plan, even though we don't charge anyone.
Fair enough. All right, that was my question.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Policy number 5110, student absence, truancy, and chronic absenteeism. Motion from the floor.
Anyone would like to make that motion?
Carleen, second. I need a second.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion?
This one is just about the writing of the first paragraph, the end of the first paragraph and all of the second paragraph.
Yep.
What is the point of that?
It is.
There's like one word different.
I know.
Okay.
The least controversial. It's the and is a.
And.
Yes.
Regular and punctual, because
Shall.
somehow regular punctual and something different.
Got it.
Any other further comments? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
And I make a motion that we adopt policy 5115, confidentiality and access to student records.
Kevin Satani, I will second the motion.
There's a motion on the floor in a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. I need a motion on the floor for policy number 5122, use of private.
No, we missed 5119.
5119, student use of districts' computer systems.
Aaron Daniels, so moved.
Mark Pulos, second.
We've got a motion on the floor. We have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. I need a motion on the floor for 5119.
No, 5122.
I can't see. 5122. Use of private technology devices by students.
Kevin Satani, I move to approve policy 5122.
Mark Pulos, second.
Any discussion? We should be getting billed a lot for this, for these policies.
You don't know that happens.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
quick question. I don't know if I saw it. I know that, Heather had, some questions around the usage of policies, during
The cell phone.
Yes, I wanna make sure that this was addressed or if there's, any resolution around that itself.
I'm sorry, she had a question about what?
Yeah, last meeting Heather had question about cell phone usage inside the school bus.
Yes.
Whether or not students were allowed to use them in transportation.
So I answered that to you by email directly from the lawyers, and the
Okay.
concept was if students were violating the cell phone policy, they were looking at inappropriate contact, bullying another person, then that would not be permitted on the bus. So whatever's not permitted in the school is also not permitted on the bus. And I believe her question was not only cell phones, but the listening of songs, AirPods. And so we asked that and I sent their response directly to you. The concept was if they were listening in school, let's say that the teacher was conducting an art class and they said, everybody can bring music in, let me listen to the selections, inappropriate content aside, then that would be okay on the bus too. It's if they were listening to something that was somehow against policy. So it's not the concept of the cell phone or the AirPods, it's the concept of, are they engaging in something that would be against one of your other policies? And I sent that to her and everyone else, I didn't hear back.
Thank you.
Certainly.
So it's not necessarily the use of the technology, it's
What they're
the
doing with the
content.
technology, yes.
So it's not disruptive to the process.
Correct.
So if they're peaceably sitting, just listening to some soothing music, it's a go. If they're bullying each other through the AirPods in whatever creative way they could come up with, it's a no-go.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up.
That is actually one of the parts of that was when I first got on policy that we were worried about. That it would be used as a status symbol to bully other students.
But if they're practicing their opera in Italian, they can do that.
Oh, they're not singing.
We're not supposed to sing on the bus.
That's right.
Might be this.
I think that's in the bus policy, no singing on the bus.
Also in the bus? No.
Correct.
Well, as a
Except for the
former
wheels
driver
on
of the
bus, that's
minivan,
the only
I
song.
don't blame the bus drivers at all. I would want as much peace on the bus if I were the driver.
Any other further discussion on this policy and this? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Update to policy 5144, physical restraint and seclusion. Need a motion from the floor?
Can I just ask a question?
Let's
Well,
go,
let's
let's
get
go
the
to a
motion
motion.
and
Let's
then
go to the
you can
motion
ask.
first.
Kevin Satani, I move to approve policy number 5144.
Aaron Daniels, second.
Discussion. Christine?
I just want some clarification on what training our staff receives do they receive the restraint training?
We have the PMT training.
Yes.
Not everyone receives it, but members of the crisis team, members of the, what's the other, crisis team, and there's a.
I think I'm gonna know.
No, I'm kind of looking beyond you to Lisa, that there are several members of different teams that all administrators receive it. Members of our mental health team, our emergency teams, they receive it, and it's offered to people. It's PMT training. And Lisa is moving us towards, at the recommendation of council, something called safety care training, which is much more focused on de-escalation techniques rather than hands-on management of students.
So all of our special ed staff don't receive it then, as of now, unless they ask for it?
The great majority do.
They do ask
Yes.
for it.
And no one's legally permitted to do a restraint if they're not properly trained
Exactly,
and
that's what I was
certified.
heading. All right, thank you.
Any other further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Motion from the floor for policy number 5145.12, search and seizure.
Motion to accept. Red lines on 5145.12, search and seizure.
Christine DeStacio, I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Markulos, move to adopt a new model policy, enrollment in an advanced course or program and challenging curriculum.
Kevin Satane, I will second that motion.
Motion on the floor and seconded to, for the model policy in question. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted.
Superintendent, what's your plan? You got two in here.
I have two.
Yes, Cambridge and International. Yeah. So what's your plan?
I have no plan.
Not playing?
Uh,
Okay,
no.
you got till next week.
No, thank
We'll
you.
take care of it then.
Cambridge and International. No. Honestly, give me dual enrollment. I'll take that for 20
All
hours.
right, sounds like a plan.
International baccalaureate is very difficult to do.
Starts at 3, come on.
Age 3, yes. You can be a graduate of an international baccalaureate program as a toddler. It's honestly a significant process that you have to go through. But it's a wonderful thing to have.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
All right. Moving on to model policy, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, alternative assessments for students with disabilities for statewide and district-wide assessments. I need a motion from the floor.
Aaron Daniels, so move.
Markulos, second.
Is there any discussion on this policy? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. And last but not least, on model policy, educational stability procedures for transportation coordination with DCF. Need a motion from the floor?
Kevin Satane, I will move to approve the stability procedure policy.
Markulos, I'll second.
Discussion on this policy. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Note to self, I need like 3 more screens to keep track of all of these with you. I'm like, this is what this says, but this is what the lawyer says, but I closed this laptop. Oof, did a good job, guys.
All right, let's go with, we're in committee reports. I believe Bob already covered the budget expenditure. We have no ad hoc committee report. So we're gonna go right to the negotiating committee.
Negotiations.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to, on the budget expenditure committee, now that we received a report, is there a plan for scheduling our first budget expenditure committee meeting?
Bob, when's our first budget expenditure committee meeting?
We haven't scheduled any yet. I assume if I went by last year's calendar, they were mid to late January they started.
Oodles of fun. We totally look forward to it.
I just like to blend, that's all. Thank you.
Being that you are the forecasting maven, as you have so proven in tonight's slide presentation, we should look forward to very close numbers for the 23-24.
Just remember, sometimes you might not like my forecast.
Okay.
Negotiating committee.
All right, tonight we have the Teachers League contract, which we will be discussing in executive session and then voting on in public session. We have our last two bargaining units, the food service workers and the administrative assistants, which are proceeding apace, so we should get those done when they get done.
Thank you. Policy committee, Kevin.
Yes, the policy committee members convened last month on Wednesday, November 30th. As we have done with many policies, the superintendent has went through every single policy that was brought to us by Shipman and Goodwin. There were discussions about them, and we presented all those policies to the board for first read, and will be voted on in January. Thank you.
School building committee, 2020.
I believe there's a meeting December 20th on that. We're prepping an RFP for an overall project manager to oversee the expenditure. It's gonna be someone who works for us and not for a contractor, and so that should be fun.
All right. Otis Library, Josh is not here tonight. IDCS, Gregory.
Got a few things, couple big ones though. The IDCS calendar, first draft has been completed. It's not finalized yet, but that'll be over to you fairly soon. So you know what the IDCS calendar is for next year. We also have athletics starting up there. The boys basketball team and girls basketball team are in action. The boys just had a game earlier tonight. This is not exactly IDCS, but I thought it was worth mentioning. There's a group of cheerleaders from Norwich who practice at IDCS that just went to nationals and performed amazingly. The under 10 team took second place, the under 12 team took first place, the under 14 team took fourth place. So all three of the teams that traveled down there did real well, and amongst dozens and dozens of teams just shined and performed really well. At IDCS, there is a new position that has been posted, and interviews start tomorrow for a Dean of Student Behavior to help out with special education requirements that struggling with, and also many of the behavioral issues that happen at the school. And then this is kind of old news, but we haven't met since then. But the Caring and Sharing event that happens at IDCS just before Thanksgiving. This year, it was a little more competitive, and the kids collected 3,106 pounds of food.
Wow.
And I know it was 3,106 pounds of food because I was carrying those boxes 40 or 50 pounds at a time from the school to a truck, from the truck to St. Vincent de Paul, and then unpacking all that stuff and helping them sort it. And it was a lot of work, but well worth it. And want to mention, again, not related to IDCS, that they do very well around Thanksgiving, around holidays, but come February, March, IDCS is going to try to do another food drive because that's a time when they're not getting as many donations as they do in the early winter like we do right now. So I guess just a reminder to everybody that they can always use volunteers, they can always use more help feeding our community.
I think the kickoff with the food bank down at the McQuonk School hopefully will generate.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
with it branch out and make it a district-wide, because you're right, food pantries are in dire need.
Yes. And Greg, can you share that information with all of us?
Sure, just would you wanna know like
The dates.
dates of when we're doing our food drive? No, absolutely. Thank you.
NFA liaison, the only thing I can tell you right now is they're in the same boat as we are. And they're poaching. They're poaching. They're poaching teachers right from other places.
They took one of ours.
Huh?
They
We're
took one of
poaching back, baby.
So,
Yeah.
other than
We're
that,
trying.
you know,
We're
their biggest thing outside of not being able to get help is their construction. Construction is on schedule. Hopefully, they're gonna get it done before too long. But the big thing is that the entire campus and the students and the faculty have been so great about just giving the workers their space and letting them work, and it's come along. It's good. It's beautiful. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I would say that new slate roof is probably 90 to 95% complete now. I mean, that was a huge project. That's first replacement since the thing's been built, so.
Yeah.
If you're ever gonna build a roof, build it out of slate. It lasts at least 130 years.
All right. Learn, Al.
All right, as I've already submitted my report, but the key things that I really would like us to take away from this report, there's a new sport in town, and it's called esports. And apparently, there's money for kids in it.
Yes, there
The
is.
most important part, and well, the second most important part. The most important part is that the fact that they're esports makes it almost unlimited participation. And it's just something that I'm sure as time goes on, we can participate in, even at, this level. But they brought up Griswold High School has a program, and again, $18 million in scholarships are being given. If we get them started here and move it on up.
It's an interscholastic league recognized competitive sport in Rhode Island.
Yes. Okay, wow.
And that was 5 years ago. And so at first I was like, I'm not really sure how I feel about this. Shouldn't they be physically? But let me tell you, they're wizards at this.
There is some
And it is,
pressure to
it's
see that in
multi-faceted.
PE classes and I cringe.
I know. As a mother of two phys ed teachers, I hear it a lot. But they're great at it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of the virtual reality stuff, so it can have some
Exactly,
physicality
yes.
and
Some
involvement.
groups, some
Yep, there's a lot of group
It's not that
projects.
they're not by themselves in a dark room. They're team playing and things like
It
that.
has like a debate club-esque where we could
Yes.
all be on the same team competing against
Exactly.
another school, and it
Exactly.
is interesting.
What platform do they use?
They gave me, if you pull up your page, there's a little link. And you go to
Oh, yeah.
generationesports.com and and it's a big thing right at the top, K through 12. So give it a look, see, and like I say, we'll see what we can do with it over the next few years.
It's blowing up though.
It is, that's the big thing, it's blowing up.
To get ahead of it and think about how it's something that can be integrated into our
Exactly.
school system, like what was happening with some of the VR technology.
Yes,
You're ahead of this stuff, that's always a good thing.
that's what we're talking about. So
It's
that's
not-
that's what I go to learn for, is to pick up these little nuggets.
We appreciate it.
All right, as Bob kind of mentioned before, they're gonna be looking for a little bit more money. The 3% was on for their special education programs, was 2.49 was for the high school that we participate in with them. So that was about it. Then I had a couple of questions. And again, something that they were talking about. The one at the bottom is pre-K. They were saying that pre-K, they couldn't fill all their pre-K spots. And so I was just making sure we're doing what we can do. And you don't have to answer these questions. These are things I'm just throwing out for us to consider. Is pre-K really it? And is infant toddler more to what? We're the school board. We can think of lots of things to do, and maybe we are that birth for us, birth through 8th grade, or birth through, so that makes them 14, birth to 14,
Okay.
is that us? Again,
I will
just some-
volunteer to teach full-time in the baby area. Love the baby. Stanton has no room for them right now, but I know Susan's with me.
Well, we're building a new school, so that, put that on the list.
The babies.
And also consider,
Great if the teachers could bring their babies to work, just saying.
we,
It might be a forward-thinking concept.
the Ocean Avenue building that you see, that I've mentioned is with a very high level of assistance needed. And like us, they want to get their kids out of there and back to the area. But some of them need something in the middle.
Mm.
Again, we got skills here in Norwich. Are you ready? Can you pick up that ball?
She can.
Something to think about. Something to think about. And it could draw revenue. If we can fill that for the region.
Can't turn down that.
So again, just some things to think about. And that's my report.
All right. Education Foundation report, Mark?
And to pick up on Al's thought, we do have skills in this, in our schools. We had a very successful night for the staff follies on November 18th. All who participated, we had tap dancing math teacher. I mean,
She was great.
she was phenomenal. Financially, we did very well. We raised over $1,500 for the foundation. And that'll be used to fund future grants to teachers in our schools. So all of that money that we raised will eventually find its way into the classrooms. Unfortunately, due to a lack of interest, the planned breakfast fundraiser for December 4th had to be canceled. We do thank all who participated. A special shout out goes to Joyce Werden, a former BOE member and now on the board of the foundation, for her role in overseeing the Follies event. And she managed to keep everything going. And we're also looking to add new members to the foundation. We'd love to see parents and community members, even if you have an hour to give. You don't have to become a board member. We're always looking for ideas and support. And remember, it's all to help our students. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. All right. Additionally, we have the year-to-date budget report, enrollment and personnel report. If you had a chance to look at it before the meeting tonight, if you have any questions about it, please bring them up now. If not, Mark.
Usually there's a fairly extensive motion to read. Here it just says, motion to go into, enter executive session. And primarily that motion tonight is to discuss the Norwich Teachers League contract. That's the purpose of the executive session.
Amber has a quizzical look on
Yeah, I
her
don't
face,
know
so
why
I'm
it's
wondering
not
if there's something else to read.
For some reason, the motion tab doesn't have anything.
Can we look back at the motion tab from last month?
Yeah.
We haven't fixed it.
No, I'd have to go back to
Oh,
last
from-
year.
Yeah.
Hold on for a second, I'm gonna find one.
I think I'm covered
I
as
think
long
you're
as it's,
Anybody?
as long as we state a
Within the
purpose.
applicable laws,
Yes.
It's admin.
Yes.
Yes.
but there's a legal phrase.
You wanna read it? Okay.
I would love that.
And who can stay?
Before the staff, the faculty leave, I know, I saw that, you almost got out. You almost got out. It is the holiday season, and on behalf of myself and the Board of Education, we appreciate all of you and your dedication, your perseverance and wish you nothing but the best holiday ever.
Okay.
I'll give you a couple extra days off, but Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to all of you.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, everybody. You can totally go now.
Yeah, you can go.
Keep on.
Okay, to put the motion into proper legalese pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-200, members of the Board of Ed move to go into executive session for discussion of the Norwich Teachers League contract. We've,
Who wants to stay?
I would like to stay.
Yes.
May I
Kristen
stay?
Stringfellow,
Yep. Bob
Aye.
Serpensky
Bob Serpensky,
and Amber.
and Amber.
Motion on the floor has been made. I need a second.
Al Daniels second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now in executive session at 7:13 PM.
Amber.
I'm gonna stick with heat.
Press was
Fair
Same
enough.
thing Fox sells though, isn't it?
I don't know, I was just.
Box is thicker though.
There you go.
It's a little thick.
We are now out of executive session at 7:45 PM. I need a motion on the floor, please.
I make a motion that we adopt the Norwich Teachers League contract.
Motion on the floor,
Kevin Satani, I will second that motion.
and there's a second to adopt the teacher's contract. Is there any further discussion?
It is for a period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026.
Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion on the floor,
Aaron Daniels, second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you. Same to you.
Holidays.